Okay, imagine this. If you could inherit just one thing from a relative you barely even knew, what would you hope for? Maybe, a hidden fortune, some rare family heirloom. But what if the inheritance isn't quite so straightforward? What if it's this absolutely magnificent multi-million pound apartment in London, right in Knightsbridge? I mean, peak luxury. But it comes with, well, a horrifying decades-old curse.
Yeah, we're talking about a place called Barrington House. The annual service fees alone are like £11,000. It screams exclusivity. Yet inside these very walls, there's this deep-seated evil. It's all tied up with fascist art, occult rituals, and this incredibly contagious paranoia.
So today we are doing a deep dive into Adam Nevill's really chilling novel, Apartment 16.
That's right. Our mission, if you will, is to kind of unpack how Neville uses these symbols of extreme wealth and, paradoxically, total isolation to basically trap and weaponize old historical trauma.
We're going to connect the dots. Between April, who's this unsuspecting American heir, and Seth, the building's really lonely night watchman.
And linking them both is the dark legacy of this forgotten, pretty controversial artist, Felix Hessen. His work seems to literally possess people.
There's this structural irony here, isn't there? The more exclusive and sealed off the place is, the better the horror can hide and sort of fester. Okay, let's get into it.
The whole power of the novel really starts with this contrast, this duality. Barrington House, it looks like the height of success from the outside, right? But inside, it breeds this complete social disconnection.
And April, she arrives from the U.S., steps into this world to deal with the estate of her great-aunt Lillian.
Yeah.
And what she finds, it's immediately off. It's deeply unsettling. Lillian's apartment isn't just dated. It's this really terrifying picture of decades and decades of extreme isolation.
How so?
Well, it's like a time capsule. The book calls it a fashion museum. It's full of unworn clothes from the 40s and 50s antiques. But all of it is just suffocating under actual piles of trash, accumulated over years.
Wow. So suggesting really profound agoraphobia, maybe paranoia.
Exactly. It's like stumbling into this luxurious but decaying mausoleum hidden right in the middle of modern, bustling London.
And this feeling of almost institutional isolation, it's mirrored elsewhere in the building, too. While April's upstairs dealing with all that decay.
Downstairs, we meet Seth, the night watchman.
Right. He lives this really simple, solitary life above the Green Man pub. His job is just repetitive, mundane shifts, very isolating in its own way.
Until it's not mundane anymore.
Precisely. His isolated hours get violently interrupted.
By what? Or where?
By apartment 16, flat 16. It's supposed to be perpetually empty, right? But every single night, right when Seth is doing his rounds, these persistent, determined noises start coming from behind its reinforced door.
Noises? Like what kind of noises?
The book describes them as resolved, almost demanding. And they're timed perfectly to his patrol routes. It gives you this chilling feeling that the flat isn't just empty, it's actively waiting for him, aware of him.
Creepy. And April, back in Lillian's apartment, she finds something that suggests her great-aunt wasn't just dealing with, internal struggles. She finds real evidence of an external terror.
Ah, the mirrors.
Yes. Lillian had painstakingly taken down, wrapped up, and tightly bound 8 mirrors from all around her apartment, stored them away.
8 of them. That's very specific. Why 8? And this absolute need to get rid of reflections.
It feels like a long battle, doesn't it? Like she was fighting against being seen, or maybe fighting against what the mirrors might show her was already inside with her.
Yeah, mirrors as portals. That's a classic horror trope, but here it feels earned. And it's interesting, Barrington House has other expensive empty flats, presumably. But only flat 16 makes noise. Only flat 16 demands attention.
It's like the whole building is structured to contain this one specific point of malevolence.
Exactly. Protecting it almost.
Okay, so this is where things shift, right? From this sort of domestic decay and psychological horror into something more like historical conspiracy. Lillian's paranoia starts to make a terrifying kind of sense once April begins decoding these extensive diaries she left behind.
And the diaries point to one person.
Felix Hessen, the artist.
And Hessen is, well, he's an incredibly dark figure. He's described as a Swiss-Austrian émigré, an artist, yes, but also a dedicated occultist.
And the sources, they really highlight his historical connections, don't they, to some pretty extreme political movement.
Oh, definitely. We're talking about links to the early 20th century European far-right, figures connected to Oswald Mosley's British Union of Fascists, that sort of thing.
So his art wasn't separate from his politics.
Not at all. His ideology and his art were completely intertwined,
Yeah.
and it pushed him towards real, tangible danger. Apparently, he was actually imprisoned during World War II for threatening public safety.
So his art was meant to be dangerous, like a weapon.
You could say that.
Yeah.
His whole theory, the philosophy behind his work, revolved around something he called the Girdap.
Girdap. You mentioned that means vortex or whirlpool. What exactly was this Girdap philosophy?
It was fundamentally anti-aesthetic. Hessen believed that true art, the only meaningful art, had to focus exclusively on death, on decay, on what he called the ugliness of humanity.
Grim stuff.
Extremely. His surviving drawings, the ones April finds descriptions of, are apparently horrific. They depict cadavers, grotesque figures, sort of human-animal hybrids. He saw the moment of decomposition, the death mask stage, as revealing the ultimate truth about existence.
And that truth determines what?
Your shape, basically, the form you take when you enter this vortex, this Girdap.
Okay, that's a terrifying artistic vision, but how did it become a literal threat? How did it start affecting Barrington House?
Through occultism. That's the other key piece. Hessen wasn't just theorizing, he was practicing. He was initially involved with Aleister Crowley's group, the Mysteria Mystica Maxima.
Crowley. Wow, okay.
Yeah, but apparently, Hessen wanted more. He was desperate for forbidden knowledge, even resorted to blackmail to try and get access to deeper secrets within the order.
So he wasn't just painting horror, he was trying to channel it.
Exactly. There are accounts of him performing strange rites. There's this one incident mentioned in the British Library reading room of all places, where his presence supposedly caused the lights in the entire building to dim.
Whoa.
His goal wasn't just psychological disturbance through art. It was to actually open a spiritual pathway, the Girdap, using his art as the conduit for this raw, destructive energy.
And Lillian, living next door to this for decades, that explains so much. Her crippling fear, her inability to leave the house, basically.
Right, agoraphobia. Yeah, she couldn't go past certain boundaries, like Holborn or the Duke of York's headquarters. She reported seeing strange figures, ugly faces, things that felt Victorian, older than Hessen even, all stemming from apartment 16.
And the generational trauma. Her husband, Reginald, a war hero, someone who literally fought against the kind of fascist forces Hessen admired.
He couldn't cope. He ended his own life, jumped from their living room window.
And April finds the spot where he landed, marked by this patch of dead roses that never decay. It's such a potent image. Arrested grief, perpetual sacrifice right there on the grounds.
Absolutely chilling.
So the few remaining elderly neighbors, they fill in the gaps, right? They provide the crucial history.
Yes, Bain Roth and Tom Schaefer. They're the last of the original residents who remember Hessen. And they confirm this wasn't just Lillian's imagination. The terror from Flat 16 was real and continuous.
And they reveal the big secret. Hessen didn't just die or disappear. He was essentially murdered, or at least trapped in the flat.
Reginald, Lillian's husband, and some of the other neighbors. Because his art, his presence, it was literally driving everyone in the building mad.
So they fought back.
They did. After Hessen had some kind of accident and came back from the hospital, his face apparently bandaged, scarred, maybe burnt. They confronted him. They tried to destroy the source of the madness.
The painting.
Yes. They tried to burn his canvases in the building's old coal boiler down in the basement.
But clearly it didn't work. The horror continued, which means the paintings
weren't destroyed, or maybe couldn't be destroyed. They were just contained, trapped in Flat 16 along with whatever remained of Hessen's consciousness or influence. And that's the historical crime that the apartment seems determined to avenge.
And the person it chooses to carry on this artistic, well, vengeance, really, is the most isolated, vulnerable person available.
Seth, the night watchman. His isolation makes him receptive.
And this possession or influence, it starts visually, doesn't it? With the hooded manifestation.
That's right. This terrifyingly vague figure starts appearing to Seth, described as maybe a child wearing an old faded green or gray parka, just watching him.
Where does he see it?
Outside his little room above the pub first. Then it starts appearing in his dreams, these really unsettling dreams about a mausoleum, a kind of stone cell. And eventually this figure isn't just watching, it starts guiding his actions, directing him.
Because Seth is already so disconnected, he's open to it.
Completely. He has no defenses, no real connections to the outside world to ground him. He becomes fertile ground for this dark ideology pouring out of Flat 16.
And the effect on Seth is devastating, both physically and mentally.
Absolutely. His physical health just collapses. He gets fevers, overwhelming nausea, this crushing social anxiety develops. He even loses the ability to speak properly. He can barely communicate.
But his art.
His art explodes.
Yeah.
Those quiet little sketches he used to do, they transform into these raw, violent expressionist works, full of aggression. The book mentions images of angry red eyes, black teeth, scenes of intense cruelty.
He's channeling Hessen, or the Girdap.
It's like the Girdap is literally infecting his mind, pouring Hessen's vision into him. But it demands a price. His physical health, his sanity, the artistic energy it provides is incredibly powerful, but it's utterly destructive to the host.
And this transformation isn't just internal, it leads directly to violence. Apartment 16 starts using Seth
as its instrument, its agent of revenge against those who trapped Hessen decades ago.
The surviving conspirators, Bay and Roth, is the first target.
Officially, she dies of a heart attack. Convenient. But just moments before she's found, Seth has this horrifying vision. He sees her near the entrance to Flat 16 being physically pulled into the mirror tunnel by something described as a long, pale, red-headed thing.
God, that's awful. And Tom Schaefer is next.
He follows soon after. He dies, terrified, seeing the figures from the Girdap returning for him. The past is literally coming back to claim them.
But maybe the most chilling part of this whole section is the reaction, or lack thereof, from the building management, specifically the head doorman, Stephen.
Ah, Stephen, yes. He represents the institutional face of Barrington House. Calm, corporate, efficient.
And remarkably unconcerned that 2 elderly residents have just died suddenly and strangely in his very exclusive, very expensive building.
Exactly. He smooths things over. He notices inconsistencies in the security camera footage around the times of death, but he covers them up.
And then he does something truly sinister.
He offers Seth a promotion, the chief doorman position, which comes with a rent-free apartment in Barrington House.
As a reward for his service, for acting as the Girdap's enforcer.
Pretty much. Stephen embodies the building's complicity. Whether he fully understands the occult details or not, he seems highly aware that something operates within Flat 16 and that Seth has somehow serviced that need. He's maintaining the system.
He's the warden of the curse, ensuring the horror stays neatly contained within those expensive walls. The luxury protects the monstrosity.
Precisely. The affluence is the shield.
Okay, so this all builds to the climax. April realizes she has to confront whatever is in Flat 16, and she teams up with Miles Butler, the art historian who's been helping her research Hessen.
Right. They decide they have to get inside.
Yeah.
Force their way in.
And what they find inside, it's not just a haunted flat, is it? It's physically wrong.
It's non-Euclidean. The space itself is warped. The final room they reach is described as intensely cold, unnaturally dark, filled with the sounds of screaming. It defies normal physics.
And they find the proof. The proof that the residents failed all those years ago.
The paintings. The ones Tom Schaefer claimed they burned in the boiler. They're still there. And they're not just canvases anymore. They're described as living paintings.
And critically, these paintings aren't just random horror scenes. They depict something specific.
Yes. They show the murder of the 4th man involved in trapping Hessen, the one who wasn't mentioned by Schaefer or Roth. It's visual confirmation of the resident's crime, preserved in art.
And then Seth arrives, or rather, the thing that's driving Seth arrives.
Fully consumed by the influence of the hooded figure, yeah. He confronts April and Miles, and during the struggle, April gets too close to the edge.
The edge of what?
The edge of the Girdap itself, this horrifying void or vortex that seems to exist physically within the flat. She's pulled towards it.
But Miles manages to save her.
He pulls her back just in time. But the encounter leaves a permanent mark on her. A physical scar.
Her hands and wrists.
They're described as severely injured, blackened, almost like gangrene from the struggle, from desperately holding on to the edge of reality, you could say.
That's powerful. The psychological horror manifests physically. It's not just in her head. She grappled with something real and destructive.
Exactly. It's the cost of confronting the Girdap directly.
And what happens to Seth?
He vanishes. Just gone from the building after the confrontation. Stephen, the doorman, suggests he was taken.
Taken by the Girdap.
That's the implication. But he leaves something behind.
His own artwork.
Yes. His new, terrifyingly powerful drawings and paintings. The Girdap found its new artist. The legacy of Felix Hessen, the contagious vortex of his art, continues.
So wrapping this up, what's the big picture here? What did we really learn from diving into Apartment 16?
Well, I think the key takeaway is that Felix Hessen didn't just create a ghost story, He engineered something more insidious, a self-sustaining system of terror.
How so?
It's this contagious ideology, right? A mix of his fascist leanings, his occult practices, and his artistic vision. He weaponized isolation and historical trauma. He turned paranoia into a tool, first against his original enemies, the residents who trapped him.
And then decades later against the next isolated soul that came along, Seth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Seth became the unwitting inheritor of that specific brand of destructive artistic energy.
And that core irony we mentioned at the start, it holds true right to the end. In this place of immense luxury and supposed security, the isolation became this perfect vacuum, just waiting to be filled by the darkest parts of history.
Yeah, the affluence didn't protect anyone. It just hid the problem better. It preserved the source of the infection.
So here's something to think about. Considering how easily someone like Seth, lonely, maybe artistically inclined but vulnerable, was drawn in and manipulated into becoming the instrument of this decades-old vengeance. What does that tell us about that thin line? The one between artistic passion and a really dangerous, destructive obsession.
That's a great question. And maybe, in our world today, which is so saturated with information and competing ideas, how easily can one singular dark ideology like Hessen's Girdap find its way into an isolated mind? A receptive mind that's just looking for meaning, or maybe just stimulus. How vulnerable are we to that kind of infection?